A Civic track car with no sway bars? Yeah, that's where I'm currently at. In this episode, I'm gonna go over the two options that I'm considering, OEM or aftermarket. We're gonna research the parts and the prices, build a list of both options, and do the pros and cons of each. What parts would you guys buy? Now, I've done quite a few track days at this point with no sway bars in the car, and I've been able to manage just fine. It's all about controlling your car as it is. But sway bars is the obvious next step for me. My last time out at Palm Beach, when I was trying to accelerate out of this one corner, I could feel my front right unloaded tire lifting up a bit. It was slipping as I was starting to accelerate coming out of this corner. It's the curbing, so that's normally a little slippery, but I believe with a front sway bar in that situation, that would help to push the unloaded tire down a bit harder. That way I could get on the power a little bit sooner, a little bit harder, thus resulting in better lap time. My first option, the OEM route. Travis brought up a really good point to me when we were talking about this. He's like, going straight to aftermarket just doesn't feel like Robbie's style. A lot of times I like to make do with as little as possible and try to get the best result out of it. So as far as the OEM route, one of my first things I always think about is go to the junkyard, try to find the parts. So the place that I always think of, budgetyoupulleit.com. My favorite local junkyard. Vehicles, no. We want to go ahead and search parts price. Front lower control arm. Are they gonna call it lower control arm? I don't know, let's see. Here we go, 17 bucks each and a $2 core. So, I could take my old one back, give it to them. So that's super cheap. I mean, 30 bucks essentially for 2 lower control arms. That's really nice. But I have to go find the parts in the first place. Even though I love Budget You Pull It, they generally have all the parts I'm looking for. You gotta go find it still. Finding the lower control arms from a 92EX in particular, or an Integra, could be a little harder. But then, the thing that I don't like about doing that is, okay, I find the parts, that's great, I can clean them up real nice, make them new again, but then I have to go ahead and find performance bushings, which I would get, some sort of polyurethane bushing, and then press them in. So it's more labor intensive and just a longer process than just buying something outright. But while we're here, let's go ahead and look at the sway bar. There's a lot of parts in a car, huh? Sway bar, 10 bucks each. That's pretty dang good. Now, if I could find like an Integra one or even a Civic EX, both of those 20 bucks, can't beat that, dude. I did some calling around to check some prices on like a DC2 Integra Type R sway bar. Just for the front bar, a local shop to me wants $200 for the thing. And they didn't even have the rear bar. So it's like, yeah. The price jumps up real quick. Okay, so the sway bars, 10 bucks each. We need both of them. Let's go ahead and add this. Junkyard, sway bars, 20 bucks. Front LCAs, we're gonna say 30 bucks because I would take the core and bring that back. So 50 bucks right there from the junkyard. And then let's go ahead and look up 92 to 95 Civic. Front lower control arms bushings. Okay, so just the very first thing I see, this Prothane, I have no idea if that's a good thing or not, but the least expensive thing that comes up right away, 55 bucks. Now, this kind of stuff, I would not go for like the cheapest kind of cheap route. I would spend some money in bushings, so I wouldn't mind that. But so energy suspension, we've heard of these guys, 38 bucks right there, 36. So let's just, for the sake of this, let's go ahead and say $40 just to start. Just to get into it, entry level. So, right, 90 bucks, $100, of tax, all that kind of stuff. Most places I would think would do free shipping on small little things like this. But, so 90, 100 bucks from the junkyard to get 2 sway bars going in. Of course, I would need the end links as well. I already got JHP on there. Black Friday sale. Suspension, chassis, front lower control arms, sway bar end links. So ASR, high performance spherical end links, 85 bucks. Blocks, 96 to 00. So blocks, 40 bucks essentially for a standard set of blocked ones. $45 for fixed. So just for our purposes right here, we're gonna go ahead and put it in our notes. End links, $40. So adding 40 to that go ahead and raises our total to $130 if we go junkyard route, sway bars, and front lower control arm, but buying new bushings and new end links. Not bad. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and look up if we're gonna buy a stock replacement for the front lower control arms. 92 to 95 Civic front lower control arms. Okay, so let's go ahead and look this Parts Geek right here. 1992 to 95, $142 for both. Free shipping, 20 in stock. Free shipping, that's nice. $142. TRQ, trusted, reliable, quality. It's like we just put a bunch of keywords together there for that logo. Details, 92 to 95 Civic control arm kits. Blah, 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 lower suspension, blah, blah, blah. I think what's nice about these two is they go ahead and come with the bushings already installed. Granted, they would be like an OEM rubber bushing, so not the performance polyurethane kind of stuff. Let's see. Those are TRQs. Dorman, let's go ahead and look up the Dormans. I've heard that name before. $58, front lower suspension. That's obviously for each one. Position, front, left, lower. Yeah, so obviously for each one, I was like, wait a minute, is it for each one? So going with these pieces, like, you know, that looks nice. It looks like the stock piece, but what's cool about it is it looks brand new. It is brand new. So that would be really cool to have something nice and new on the car. And it is gonna come with the bushing. You can see the little piece right there. Whoa, hey, there's that guy. But so $58, let's say 60 for each, 120 for the front lower control arms. Let's go ahead and add that to our list. LCA with bushings, 120. I still would need to go ahead and buy the end links for this because I would need to buy the end links for this. And we already know that those are gonna start around $40 and just go up from there. Now, again, this does come with the bushings, so, you know, there's the question, do I go ahead and press out those brand new bushings and replace them with polyurethane? My initial inclination would be no, because it should be fine because it's brand new and I'm running stock power, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, you know, there's that whole go for it while you're there. Then sway bars. There's still the option of buying them in the junkyard, so let's go ahead and put junkyard sway. Those would be $20. If I was to just go ahead and buy a sway bar, bought DC2 sway bar from like one of those local JDM shops, he said, I know that was $200. So that right there is a big cost, and that was just the front bar. But so let's separate that a little bit. Just using those stock pieces, new end links, and then the junkyard sway bars, we would be at a total $120, $160, $180. $180. If we were to do the bought DC2 front sway bar, $360 right there. And that's just for the front stuff. I still need to find the rear stuff. Rear lower control arms, stock. Let's go ahead and put Civic EX. What comes up but all the aftermarket stuff, of course. Who's gonna do that? So I would probably need to go find those rear lower control arms in the junkyard. Well, control arms, we already know what that price was. Let me go ahead back to my notes. The lower control arms I said was just $17 each, so I'm assuming that includes the rear stuff as well. And I need to go ahead and add that to the list up here. Man, what am I doing? Rear LCA is another $30. That brings that total up to $160. You see, this is how it goes. This is why I wanted to do this type of video, because as you're thinking about the parts, you're like, well, wait a minute. There's another thing I need to buy. Isn't that always the case? So $160 there. Junkyard OEM route, I still need to buy the rear LCA. That adds another $30. So the total from $180 would go up to $210 for the stock stuff, or $390, including the bought DC2 bar. The rear bar, you know, that's the bought DC2 bar. Hopefully I could find a rear sway bar in the junkyard somewhere, or maybe someone's selling one on Facebook Marketplace or something, and I could get one for 10 bucks, you know? So rear bar, let's just go ahead and put 10 bucks, you know? So let's go ahead and bring that total up to $400. So potentially up to 400 bucks for the OEM route. Okay, so we've looked up the junkyard route, the potential buying OEM parts route. Now I'm gonna look for the aftermarket stuff. Time to spend some money here. So JHP, that's one of my always go-to sites right away. Let's go ahead and look up suspension, chassis, front lower control arms. Nice hard race stuff, you always know the blue. Okay, so hard race. I'm familiar with hard race. I've got their front upper control arms on the car already, so would make sense to stick with what I know and keep the consistency of parts, right? Bushings have been fine on those upper control arms, no complaints, no tearing or anything after multiple track days. So I would go ahead and check out the front lower control arms as well. So 92 to 95, and this is with the hard rubber bushing. But see here, you know, this is just that one arm. It's not the bigger piece that then connects to the bushing up there too, which, I think that's a whole other part that I didn't even add in here. You see what I'm saying, man? Like, there's always something else to add that I hadn't thought of a little bit before. So 214 bucks with these, black, blue. I would probably choose the black. Replacing suspension bushings will bring back a firm and responsive suspension feel your car once had when it rolled off the factory floor. That'd be cool. Hard Race Suspension has made the ultimate cost-effective hard rubber bushing kit on the market. And they are sold in pairs this size, which is very nice. So, you know, 214 bucks, you're getting both of them. 92 to 95 Civic. So let me go ahead and add that to our list here. Aftermarket route, put hard race, yay, 214 bucks. We already know the end links, 40. Now let's go ahead and look up rear lower control arms, suspension, chassis, rear lower control arms. Now these are the eye candy ones, you know? You see everybody with their eBay crap out on the road, and it's all gold and it's super dumped. I don't necessarily care that it looks like something super blingy back there. Not really my style. I'd be fine with all black. I think all black would look really sweet actually. But let's just see what they got. The first thing that comes up, ASR. I didn't even realize that ASR made rear lower control arms, but makes a heck of a lot of sense considering they do everything else for the rear. ASR again, ASR, blocks, Cusco. Well, but that's for the new stuff, of course. So here we go with the hard race stuff. OE style, 92 to 95 Civic. I see the hole for the adapter for the end links, 159 bucks. And that is pretty cool that it makes it like the OE style. I like that. It looks like a nice and light piece. OE style rear lower control arms are packed with hard race hardened rubber bushings and feature hard race gloss blue finish. It's only blue. So it looks like for hard race I would have to go blue. Not really my thing. Sorry hard race, I like blue, but it just doesn't match with what's going on in the car. The front upper control arms, yeah, they're blue, but you can't even see those things. So 159 bucks, I know I could get into it for roughly that. We'll go ahead and just put that down. Let's just go ahead and put 160. But let's take a couple other prices while we're here because I don't necessarily like the blue on those. Is that a lame reason for not wanting to go with those? Probably, but you know, so 88 to 95 Civic, these ASR pieces. So these ASR pieces, the version 1.5. Oh, okay, so they have the spherical or they have just the normal lower control arm. Let me just check out what the normal lower one is. I don't have any other spherical parts on this car, so I'm not really looking to go that far with it. ASR just improved on their already awesome rear lower control arms for 2019. 2022 almost? Updated 1.5 arms are hollowed out between the crisscross pattern to reduce overall weight but remain strong and rigid throughout. And that is what I like about this aftermarket kind of stuff. The rear lower control arms, front lower control arms. If you buy the aftermarket stuff, they're going to be a lot lighter pieces compared to if you replace them with the stock stuff. Is that a big deal at this level? I don't know. I'm just competing with myself. It's not like I'm out there looking for the last 100th of a second somewhere. The weight difference between the OE piece and the aftermarket piece, maybe it's like 4 or 5 pounds, you know, everything all together, maybe up to 10 pounds, maybe. Like, it's not nothing. I'm not saying it's not nothing, but it's also not the biggest deal in the world. So those 190 bucks, we'll go ahead and list them. So rear LCA, $190. And then the sway bars. What's funny about the sway bars in the aftermarket, at least on JHP that I've noticed, is they really only have options for the rear bar. I guess that's because that's the most cosmetic one that everybody sees and like, oh, that's so cool looking. But that's really all I see on here. So suspension, chassis, sway bars. Yeah, see, ASR rear sway bar, first thing that comes up. So 24 millimeter rear sway bar for 88 to 00 Civic. Sway bar kit, I like this, where it's got the reinforcement plate for the back, but also the 24 millimeter bar, 390 bucks. That's what I would be doing, but also nice that it comes with the rear end links as well. So you don't gotta buy those for the back. So 390 bucks, definitely go ahead and list that. Sway bar kit. Go ahead and put 400, a nice round number. That comes with those end links and everything. Get the gold, you can get all the different colors. Rear hollow bar, but that's not for my car. Then you get into the bar only stuff, the 32 millimeter bars. This is where I don't know. I don't know what I need. Like I said, I get by with what I have. So I guess anything that I would try would just be a big step up. So I think likely I would start with a 24 millimeter bar. That the rear having a 24 millimeter bar, I think would match the front then, because the fronts, let's go ahead and look. Civic EX, front sway bar size. I can spell it right. Stock sway bar sizes, Honda Tech. Good old Honda Tech. This guy says he's got a link to one. Oh, we are not allowed to proceed. Okay. So this guy here says the front sway bar on the 94 EX was 21 millimeters. Really? From what I could tell, all 92, 21 front millimeter sway bar. That's what it said. 92 to 00, 22. So they're all right there. 21, I think it's even up to 24 millimeters. That might have been for the Integra. So I would likely go ahead with that 24 millimeter bar in the rear, whether it's 21, 22, even up to 24 in the front for the stock bar. I would definitely go with that as well. Front LCAs, 214. Rear LCA was 160. The ASR rear LCA, that's a whole different thing. I'm not gonna add that right now. End links, 40. Then ASR rear sway bar kit, that's the bulk of all this, at 400 bucks. I would still need to go ahead and get a front sway bar as well from somewhere, hopefully the junkyard, so that's adding 10 bucks. So $824 we're at there. $824, and that's before taxes and if there's any shipping on stuff. If I was to go with the ASR rear lower control arms, it'd be 190, so I'd just add 30 bucks from there, so 850. I'm thinking essentially 900 bucks if I go the aftermarket route. The OEM Junkyard Route is definitely the least expensive here at 160 bucks-ish. You know, that's ish for sure, because you know, I'm sure as I got into it, something would break here or there. I need to find some bolts or bushings maybe that I'm not thinking of right here that need to go on there. Those big old front bushings up at the front that I mentioned earlier that I had forgot, those need to go. So at least a couple $100 bucks if I go the junkyard route, but it's also the time in finding the parts and then getting everything, all the bushings pressed in. The OEM buying it route, the cost goes up a little bit, but not a lot of bit. I think buying those front lower control arms would be pretty cool and pretty cost effective, really. And then finding some rear lower control arms, probably in the junkyard, because no one seems to make those unless it's an aftermarket, you know, stylized kind of piece. So if I went that route, 210 bucks I have written here, I'm sure it would be more than that, you know. But if you buy the DC2 front sway bar or any type of DC2 rear bar, that's definitely gonna add some cost. So potentially up to 400 bucks, even 500 bucks if I was to buy those bars. And then you have the aftermarket route, which is obviously gonna be the most expensive here. But what's really nice about the aftermarket pieces, of course, is everything is brand new. Bushings are already pressed in those pieces. The rear sway bar will be brand new. The end links will be brand new. End links are brand new in any of these options here. And it's all just brand new, nice, lightweight pieces designed for motorsport. So what would you guys do? Those are the options as I see them, but what do you think? What are the other options, or what have you done? What parts would you buy? How much did you spend, if you don't mind saying? I think sway bars is something that I definitely want to get into. It's kind of the next step for me as far as track evolution. I'm very comfortable with how my car handles now after all these track days that I've done. I'm starting to get that sense of, okay, this is what I need to do next to the car to help me improve my lap times. And that's what I wanted from this whole project, you know? That's why I still have the D-Series in this thing. Even after all those engine troubles, I wanted to put another D-Series in it because I want to learn this car from the basics. If you've been following this channel forever, you know that in the very beginning of this thing, I was talking about wanting to do the Gran Turismo approach. So you start with the base car, you drive it, you add parts as you can to make it go faster. In this case, it would be to help the feel of the car. I am getting very comfortable with the D-Series power on track. I'm good to go. I'm ready for more power now, honestly. But as far as the handling goes, there are things that can be changed to improve it. Like I said, when I was taking that really wicked, super big sweeping right-handed corner at Palm Beach, I could feel the front right corner getting light. The front right tire was starting to slip a little bit, especially on that slippery curbing. And as I'm going through there, I'm thinking like, man, if I only had enough pushing down on this wheel. Now there could be coilovers as well. I don't have the stiffest coilovers in the world. You know, that could be ramped up as well. But I think adding sway bars would be a nice thing to do to get everything set there. Then if I still feel I need more stiffness, more pushing into the ground, then I can slightly bump up the coilovers. I think there's a danger here in just going too far too fast. Like, I want the stiffest coilovers possible. I want the stiffest rear sway bar possible. Like, how do you know you want that unless you've driven the car on track and have honestly felt the need for it? You can go overboard so quick with these car parts and just buy. But for what? Like, what is your end goal? But for me, the end goal is to get better on track, drive better. So I've been doing that with my stock car, and I'm gonna progressively add a little bit so that the car feels really nice and balanced. At least that's my hope. So what did you guys think? Let me know, put down in the comments what you all would buy. Give me some advice, please. I'm looking, and this is something I'd like to start getting into. So thank you all so much for watching. Talk to you in the next.